Hey, it's Jamie with Thoughtful Horsemanship. I'm showing y'all today how to move a horse's front end over. On this particular horse, I'm going to slightly tip his nose away from me and press his shoulders and see how he moves over. A couple things you do want to check out first is make sure that they do get out of your personal space. There you see he's not really wanting to. And so I'm making it a big deal. I'm getting big, getting my hands up, and yes, I will kind of get into his face if he doesn't want to move over and away from me. He's kind of a lazy horse. He knows what I'm asking, but he sometimes just kind of does his own thing. He's a young green horse, so sometimes he will try to test his boundaries and his limits. And so here I'll do the same thing, tip his nose away and press in with my hand. And he's not as good going to the left as he is to the right. And so there he finally takes a step. Trying to get him to not take a step forward so much as trying to take a step back. At first, if you just get one step away from you, that's good. And there you can see he really doesn't have any personal space going away from me on that right side. And so I take some time, gonna work on that. And he kind of would either rather tip his head up way taller, obviously, than me, or he'd rather just run forward instead of going away from me. So that's something that I kind of sat there and worked on real quick with him. And there again, you see how then I could go back and he was a lot quieter about it. And I do get out of focus there for a little bit, or off camera, sorry. He is a Frisian Arabian cross, so he's not always the greatest at rocking his weight back onto his hocks and moving his front end over. He's very front end heavy. And so this is kind of one of those things that he struggles with. And so this other mare, she's also a very green mare. Here I'm checking her out as far as backing goes. She gets a little stiff. She's more of a people pleaser. She really doesn't want to get into trouble. Whereas the other gelding, he really didn't care. Whereas this mare, she will sometimes go above and beyond and try to do extra things of what she thinks you want her to do. And so I had just put my hand on her shoulder to kind of back her up a little bit. Here, I just tilted her nose a little bit away from me and put my hand on her shoulder. She took a little step. And I'll ask again. Really trying to get her to work on focusing on moving that left front in front of the right front. And in between these, I'm going to let her sit and think about it. She's not been asked this a whole lot, whereas the other gelding has been, he's had a lot more handling, whereas this mare is a little greener. And so I wait for her to kind of just think about what we just worked on and what we just practiced. So then I'll do the other side as well. Tip her nose slightly away and back. Press on her shoulder. She's not as fluid on the right side. She's a little bit more unsure, so I'm going to pet her, reassure her a little bit. Wait for her to maybe take a breath, look at me, realize that, hey, I'm not the boogeyman. I just changed sides. That was it. I'm not big on treats, but I do reinforce with petting and scratching. Here I'm just working a little bit on getting her out of my personal space. She does like to move her whole body. She'll kind of get her front end going and then she'll do her whole body. And so I'll go back, pet her, let her just kind of reassure her, let her know that she's doing the right thing. And I'll ask again. That was a lot better, but then she moves her body forward. So I'm going to still reward her, but I might catch her a little sooner. I blocked her from going forward because mostly, like I said, I'm just asking her to move her front end over. And here I'm just going to ask her to tip her hindquarters over so that she realizes that the hindquarters are different than the front end. I'll ask her to move her front end over again, kind of get out of my personal space. There, she did a lot better. She didn't go forward immediately. Sometimes when a horse is struggling, you have to go back to do something that they already know, which she had already known move her hindquarters over. So I did that, then came back to the front end, and she kind of put 2 and 2 together. Do the same thing with the right side. There you can see she starts to go forward again. I'll ask again. I kind of go out of screen there. She starts to move her hindquarters over as well. And there she finally just took her front step. She was also up against the fence, so that kind of helped. That's not always ideally what I'd like, but using the fence can help you in some of these situations, especially if they try to go forward all the time. You can put them up against the fence and just try to get them to move their front end over. There, I moved her hindquarters over. And I do it again. She's not really great at moving her hindquarters over on this side. Let her know she did a good job. I'll let her sit and think about that. Like I said, she's more of a people pleaser. She wants to do good, but she does hold a lot of tension in her. So that's why I allow her to sit and think things through a little bit more. Here I'm just checking her backing, and she gets a little stiff. So I will put my hand on their chest just to help them move away from that pressure a little bit more. It kind of reiterates them putting that weight back versus always going forward. And there's Piper the cat. She helps out, makes sure that, the horses get used to cats. And so here I'm just going to kind of check her out a little bit with the saddle being on. She's not been ridden, but we've been working on desensitizing and saddling. And so this is just part of what we've been working on along with groundwork. And you can kind of see she kind of jumped at first and then she got over it. If you have any other suggestions or questions, let me know. That's it for today. Thanks.